Welcome to the Yum Yum Yogi. Today we will be making a divinely moist and flavorful carrot cake. This is for all the more than 50 people who requested this recipe and also in honor of it being my birthday yesterday. So let's start by reflecting on this awareness. I'm a master of all spiritual powers. This awareness is the foundation of my self-respect. We need about 2 cups of carrots, about 1 pound of carrots. And for this recipe to work, you have to keep this very important step in mind. The carrots have to be coarsely ground, not too fine. Do not puree them. If you grate them, you have to grate them really fine. But for best results, coarsely grind them. I'm using a food processor, and while grinding, let's add half a cup of pineapple juice, or you can add half a cup of milk, whichever one works for you. And the carrots have to be ground like that. So coarsely grind. Now let's prep the wet ingredients. Add oil to a large bowl. Add sugar and applesauce, and let's cream these ingredients really well. I'm using a whisk. You don't need a machine. So cream them really well, like that. And now to this, let's add crushed pineapple. This is a really important ingredient, so don't skip this ingredient, crushed pineapple. And now to this, let's add the carrots. So the pineapple and the carrots, they're part of the wet ingredients. So you combine all of these ingredients really well. Now let's prep the dry ingredients. Take some flour. Let's sieve it over the wet ingredients. Take some baking soda, some baking powder, some salt also, and we are going to add 2 kinds of spices, cinnamon and ginger. Half a teaspoon of ground ginger and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon powder. Now sieve these dry ingredients over the wet ingredients. At this point, you cannot handle the batter too much. So combine these just enough so the dry ingredients are completely combined. Do not handle it too much. Now add some chopped nuts, half a cup of pecans and half a cup of walnuts. They really give it a good crunch. This is optional, of course, if you don't want to add it, but it's good to add it. And now let's bake it. For this recipe, I always use parchment paper because it's easy to take the cake out because it's a very moist cake. Prep the pan like you're seeing on the screen. And add the batter into the pan and level it. Like you're seeing. And now let's bake this in a preheated oven for 40 minutes. And while the cake is being baked, let's prep the frosting. And so for the frosting, let's take 1/4 cup of vegan butter. And to this, let's add half a cup of powdered sugar. I don't like my frosting too sweet, so I'm just using half a cup. You can add a little bit more if you want. Add some vanilla, and let's cream these ingredients really well before we add the vegan cream cheese. This frosting is nice and tangy, and it's really worth it, so don't skip this. So cream those ingredients. Now add the vegan cream cheese. And the frosting is best after you refrigerate it. So after you prepare the frosting, refrigerate it. And so once you take the cake out of the oven, you have to completely cool the cake before you add the frosting. So there, frosting is almost ready. There, it's ready. And now let's refrigerate this. And let's take the cake out. There, the cake is done. And cool it completely before you frost the cake. That is one delicious cake right there. Before we taste it, let's remember. I am a master of all spiritual powers. This awareness is the foundation of my self-respect.
Ready. Okay. Well, let me try this. The cake is really moist and fluffy and light. And the walnuts have a really nice crunch to it.
How about the icing?
The icing is really creamy and light. It's really yummy. Yeah, it's got that little bit of a tang to it. Delicious.